Dave Lawrence here.
It's 100.7 WZLX, Boston's classic rock, and covering Ozzfest 2000. It's quite an experience being down here for 2 days because it's not only about a lot of different bands, but it's also about a lot of family activity and a lot of things that you don't usually see backstage at a rock show. And I'm talking about a fleet of dogs, a fleet of children, and some really cool rock and roll parents leading the way for the whole thing. I'm pleased to welcome my next guest, one quarter of the original Black Sabbath, a massive solo artist on his own, and a rock icon, Ozzy Osbourne, joining us on ZLX. Thanks, man.
How you doing?
It's great to have you here in town, and thanks for taking the time.
One of my favourite places to play, actually, Boston, in the Boston area. They really like rock and roll around here.
And is that something that just through the years doing the Sabbath tours, it developed being Boston being a hotbed for you, or?
But it's always, for me and what I've been involved in, AA, Sabbath and my solo career, it's been great. It's always been great here.
I've always wondered that, as I'm not a Boston-based guy. I come from the Philadelphia area. Yeah. So, and seeing shows all over the East Coast, I've always wondered what other cities would be favorite cities for you besides this?
Philadelphia, Boston, New York, LA, all over really, but Boston's kind of got that little bit of an edge on everyone. I mean, like, we would always do 2 nights here at Boston.
And I've even heard a rumor, and you could confirm this or deny this, that you may even consider recording some tracks on the new record here in the Boston area or in Massachusetts.
I haven't specifically thought of it, any thoughts, but who knows? It's news to me.
Yeah, it was a buzz. I follow you closely on the internet to make sure I'm up on things. I heard a buzz.
I lie a lot on the internet.
I know they do. I heard a buzz that you might be going to Longview Studios, but maybe that's not for sure.
No, I haven't got any plans right now, no.
One studio that you may have been in recently, or a location rather, was the filming of Little Nicky.
Yeah. That was a really good experience.
That's Adam Sandler's movie.
Adam Sandler is a really nice guy, and the film's going to be really good. They didn't cut any corners financially. In actual fact, we got the stage set, which we couldn't put up properly here. We got asked the idea for the Ozzfest stage set this year from the Little Nicky film.
Oh, wow. And
it's great. I saw some of the rushes, and it's really, really well done.
Yeah, I've read actually a lot that he's a huge Ozzy fan. He's way into the whole classic rock scene. He loves Sabbath.
Oh yeah, he's great.
Was he out seeing any of the reunion Sabbath shows?
No, but I've invited him to come and jam with me on this Ozzfest tour.
No, that's very cool. Yeah, I know. He does his own little musical tour.
He can play, you know.
He's played at this venue down here, the Tweeter Center.
Really?
Yeah, he actually did do a show here a couple of years ago. And,
great.
And he was covering a lot of his favorite classic rock. I remember he had a lot of Styx was in the set that night.
Yeah.
That was his big band. So it leads me to something else. We're talking about all these different bands. And I know in the last couple of years you were on the Ringo Starr, his last solo record.
A guy called Mark Hudson, who I did some writing with many years ago, was co-producing it or writing it with him, and he asked me to do some backups. And I've met Ringo. I didn't actually do anything more but backup singing, and then Ringo wasn't even there when I did my thing, so it's, you know.
So that's how that session. Yeah, you've just answered the question. I was just wondering how it went down. So you didn't actually meet him face to face?
I've met him before, but I didn't actually. He wasn't there when I did the backup thing.
How about
I was in the next studio doing some stuff with Tony Iommi.
For his solo record?
Yeah, but I just went out to see him, you know.
What other, before we get on to Iommi, I don't want to get Beatles sidetracked, have you met any of the other Beatle members?
I've flown with Paul McCartney. I've never had the opportunity to speak to him, but I would love to have met Lennon.
And never did, though?
No, I've met his son, but I've never met him.
Yeah, I know his son's a real hard rock fan. I know Sean loves Kiss.
I've never met Sean. I've met Julian.
Okay, all right, the other son. Very cool. Is he a fan of Sabbath or Ozzy?
I don't know.
But you just bumped into him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just always wondered whether you've interacted with the Beatles, knowing your huge love for the Beatles.
It's kind of like I'm glad in a way, because I would hate to be disappointed in I've got a great kind of fantasy going for a long time about what they're like. When I met Ringo, I wasn't disappointed, but I might be disappointed. And there's lots of rumours I hear about them, you know.
That's something that happens to me all the time, being in radio. Every time I go to meet somebody, I'm like, do I really want to do this? Do I want to deflate the image that I have?
Yeah.
Another thing that you mentioned, Tony Iommi, real quick, we should give some plugs to him. I understand, and again, you can correct me if I'm wrong from reading, that the label Divine, Divine Recordings, will be handling the Iommi. Is that for sure?
Yeah. But he's yet to he's finished his album. he's got to come up with a title for it. It's a great album.
Yeah, I spent some time with him last summer when you guys were here together.
Yeah.
And he was telling me about it. He's got Ian Astbury on it, Henry Rollins.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different folks, contemporary. Any classic rock artists on that?
I don't think so.
You singing on a track on that?
I was, but there was too many tracks that pulled me off.
They pulled you off of the Iommi solo record?
It wasn't a great track anyway. I think we could have done a better track. I wasn't really on form that day when I went down to do my work on it.
What's going to be the future of collaborating with Tony on stuff?
If we want to write together, we'll write. The one thing about the Sabbath reunions, we became friendlier than we'd ever been before, you know.
I thought that the interactions on stage really proved that too. I read it, but it's different when you go. You see a concert, you see people smiling, you see people kibitzing, laughing, joking.
Yeah, it was we had a good time.
And I was a little disappointed to hear the farewell tour, to hear it being called that.
Well, it's kind of like, you know, what do you do? I mean, we've all got our own solo careers, we've all got our own families, we're all doing okay, and we've all gone our different ways. Yeah, I was glad for the finality of it. I mean, I've seen it dwindle before. Why let it dwindle again? You know. No, we ended it on an up note. You know. I mean, there's no hard feelings from any of us now. As far as I'm concerned, I have no hard feelings. And
let's set the record straight on something. As a huge Sabbath fan, which I am, and I've seen the original Sabbath 9 times, and I've seen Sabbath countless other times, you know, with other people filling in. Tony Iommi, the greatest hard rock guitarist of all time.
I think he's so underrated. It's not even funny. I mean, you know, I think that in his own right, there is not a man to touch him for some of the hardest, heaviest rock riffs of all time. I mean, you got your Clapton's great. He's a phenomenal player and he's well acclaimed. He's recognised. You got your Eddie Van Halen's. You got the list is endless. Why that man isn't up there with the rest of them, I don't know. Because, you know, he may not be a finger tapping fool, but he's a definite icon in his own. Not just saying because I've played with him. I mean, you will know him when you hear him. He's got a definite sound,
charisma,
a definite style, and he's just. I mean, it's unbelievable. You know, I don't know why they haven't recognised him. Maybe that's a good thing, or I don't know. It's a good thing or a bad. But
I've always felt the same feelings about Tony. I felt he is the most underrated, underappreciated guitarist.
I mean, the guy just comes out with his shit. When I used to be with him in the 70s, he'd come up with an incredible guitar lick, and I'd go, he ain't never going to top that, you know. He can't top that. And he would just effortlessly just come out with this thing that would blow your mind that much more. And you go, you know, I think what the hell goes through his head, you know?
That he comes up with them.
Considering that his fretboard fingers plays with false fingertips, how do you do it? You know, the guy's a fucking genius. No,
his sensing is amazing. The way, I mean, it's a lot of charisma, and he has presence too. Another thing, real quickly, before we get off the Iommi thing, I think that's something that maybe it was my brother who pointed this out to me. I don't know, because I went to a lot of reunion shows, and I was really examining things closely, and it's like, there's something about his presence on stage that, you know, a great performer who has a lot of chops, it's always an amazing thing. It's always a treat to see a great musician. But it's like there's something else when you can back up the musicianship and the soul that you bring to the table with a sort of presence. Do you know what I'm getting at?
He's always been the same guy for me. I mean, I don't analyse it. The combination of Bill Wood, Geezer Butler, myself and Tony Iommi was an incredible driving force. And when you're in the middle of like this vehicle, this from the smallest nut on the wheel to the largest cog in the engine, they all fit together to make the car go. So being a part of the car, I never go, oh, Geezer, because Geezer was originally. I never take it to pieces. I never think, well, why didn't Bill play this differently? Why didn't I sing this differently? He just was. We weren't a created band. We were four local guys who got together and started to write songs, and it worked.
Yeah, it was a genius arrangement of stuff. Finally, I'll let you go because I know you're busy and you want to get on with your show. I just want to touch base on someone who's about to play here in a couple of days, and I'll show you my shirt.
Santana.
Yeah, and I was talking with Sharon yesterday. Spent some time talking to her, and
it's fucking great that he won all the Grammys. I think it's great that he got recognised. I mean, it just goes to show that there is still some hope. And when you see him giving my love, and I think he's great. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, we're supposed to see him this coming week, and yeah, that's what she said. She said you guys had actually toured Sabbath and Santana on the same bill previously.
I think so. But I can't remember. Maybe I don't know. Maybe we did a festival together in the.
But you've met him.
I've never met him, no.
Never met him, actually.
Tony Iommi has a thing.
Okay.
I don't know, maybe, I don't know.
I'm going to pass along your regards to him, though, because I saw you on TV walking into the Grammys that night, and you were like on TV giving him the major praise, and I love that. I was like, right on to Ozzy for sharing the spotlight like that with someone who deserves it.
He's one of the greats, you know.
He is. I love Carlos. Ozzy, I appreciate your time. Thank you very much, and thanks for talking to us here on ZLX.
Goodbye, God bless you. Hi, this is Ozzy Osbourne with Dave Lawrence, and you're listening to 100.7 WZLX, Boston's classic rock.